Hello and welcome back. Today I want to come back to Joni Lamb and Daystar, and from a different angle, because I'm interested in the personas someone represents. And I'm not talking about fake personas, but who we truly are inside, the certain types we embody. And when we embody them in the best way, we bring out the best in ourselves and to others, and create prosperity as well, because prosperity is within God's will. And it's almost like a ladder that helps us become our best version by showing us our potential and pointing us to our pitfalls or potential downfalls.
Enemy's camp.
And blowing into the enemy's camp.
Causing pain. Confusion. And anguish. Blind them. Every time they look upon my territory. My dominion. Or anything connected to it. Block the doors they have used. To my home. And my dominion. With the blood of Jesus. To declare. No entrance. I ask you to tread down my enemies. As you did for King David. Please extract. 7 times. Whatever they have stolen from my territory. Write down the names. Of the evil spirits. Who have meddled. And inflict double punishment. For interfering. With the Lord's anointed. For the trouble. That these defeated trespassers. Have caused me. Please double. My territory. As you promised. In Isaiah 6:7.
See, I've titled this video, The Devil Wears Daystar, the double life of Joni Lamb, for a reason. Because I want to dive deep and for us to look into the downfall of Joni Lamb. And I'm not even talking about her narcissism and all of her less than ethical dealings. I want to take a look from her brand persona. See, we all embody certain brands, and once we know it, once we know our type, we're able to hone and develop the best while sidestepping the worst. And so I want to talk about the best of Joni Lamb and the worst. The Devil Wears Prada, the double life of Joni Lamb. See, the interesting thing about Joni is she embodies 2 major personas, brand personas, prosperity personalities. We all have certain talents and gifts, God-given gifts. And just like it says in the Bible, some of us are teachers, some are prophets, some are this and that. There are also personas that we embody that are conducive to what comes natural to us. So what about Joni? Joni, from my observation, fits perfectly 2 of these personas. The first one is the romantic, and the second one, the ruler. And they could work perfectly together, and for a while they did. Let's start with the romantic. And yes, of course, romantic, we immediately think candlelight and piano dinners. And that fits perhaps with the life she initially portrayed with Dark Wise. The romantic honeymoon and the public display of affection and so on and so forth. But the romantic is much deeper than that. See, the romantic embodies all the luxury, from the small little gestures to the grand, sumptuous luxury resorts like Joni took Doug to on the honeymoon that costs upwards, allegedly, of $100,000. But it also shows us the beauty of life, the well-being that we all can afford in one way or another. And many people made great businesses for themselves with the romantic archetype, even outside the romance and love connotations. But Gwyneth Paltrow with Goop embodies the romantic, the self-indulgent, the luxuriant, the comfort-seeking, the beauty-appreciating personality. On the downside, they can become self-indulgent, even lazy, and seem to be self-centered on their own pleasures. But initially, Joni certainly embodied many of the positive elements of the romantic. She seems on TV soft-spoken, as though her voice was draped in velvet. She seems tempered and even-keeled. She seems forgiving and peace-loving. She seems to value pleasure of intimacy more so than strife or justifiable revenge. See, when Marcus Lamb was found to have been cheating on her for years, and perhaps she knew all along but kept her peace. But once it could no longer be covered up, she grandiosely forgave him, all under the umbrella of her romantic persona, who values family life, peace, comfort, and pleasure over upheavals, strife, and struggle and anger. And so that came across well with her audience and Daystar's audience in general, because after all, despite her great success and luxury, she portrayed the woman who was a family lady, who a mother devoted to the life of what could be described the romantic. The pleasures of the family, the comfort, the soft-spoken, peace-loving wife. Now what emerged, of course, is anything but that portrayal. But for a long time, the romantic persona served her well in the public and in the way she conducted her life, until cracks appeared in that persona. But let's take a look at the ruler. Where the romantic is peace-loving and retiring and, in a sense, languid. I'd rather be on the couch eating chocolates and listening to beautiful music than ruling or building an empire. The ruler seems on the surface to be contradicting the romantic, and it can. But it could also work glove in glove. See, the ruler demands control, authority, and order in their empire. The benevolent ruler, in the best form, serves their team or all those in their realm. They're not tyrannical. Instead, for them, everyone else is an extension of themselves. And perhaps we've seen a little bit of that in its negative form when Joni fired the lady who had an affair with another member of Daystar, another employee at Daystar, even though there would have nothing been against it other than perhaps Joni's own jealousy, and it irked her perhaps because of Marcus's own infidelity with another employee. See, there's an over-identification of the ruler with those in the empire. Sometimes they have a hard time setting boundaries because they see everyone else as an extension of themselves. In the best form, that makes the ruler extremely loyal, the one in battle who will be the first to go out and protect his team, his warriors or her warriors at all costs. Because for them, for the true ruler, the people inside the empire are them, and they will protect them at all costs. So what went wrong at Daystar? See, there, perhaps Marcus as well as Joni for sure, demanded the same loyalty of others to her that normally the ruler extends to their team. She wanted everyone to serve her as though they were serving themselves, as though there was no boundary. If you've seen the film The Devil Wears Prada, you might recognize some of that play, that game. And where the true ruler self-sacrifices for his team, the perverted ruler, the ruler gone wrong, demands the team, erases themselves and serves the ruler, or Joni in this case. And so we see those moments of the ruler, the positives turning into negatives before our very eyes as we watch this tragedy unfold of Joni's own undoing. And of course, the romantic and the ruler could work well together, as we see with Gwyneth Paltrow and Goop. She is someone who built her own empire on the idea of the romantic's well-being. Well, with Joni, and I'm not saying that Gwyneth Paltrow, there's many people who know her personally who are not great fans of her, but on the outside to the public, she has been very successful combining these two brand identities. And with Joni, it worked for a while. She was the devoted wife, the one that appreciated peace and pleasure over strife, while being the co-ruler with Marcus Lamb. But the real ruler behind Daystar was Marcus. When he tragically passed away and she boldly stepped into the sole ruler, things went awry, because Joni is probably more of a romantic than a ruler. So she used all the dark side of the romantic to indulge her ruler. So people had to, allegedly, as some employees have come forward, made them collect her stool sample for medical purposes. She had them bring a coconut cake at Thanksgiving quietly in the second entrance of the house while the family celebrated Thanksgiving, while the employee had to sacrifice the well-being of her own Thanksgiving for Joni. See, Joni as a ruler demanded that every whim of her romantic be indulged. And while the employees could be fired, it wasn't as easy with her own son and his wife, Jonathan and Susie Lamb. See, she had gotten away with this game for so long, she thought it would be easy doing with Jonathan. Of course, the recordings also show us someone who's not a romantic at all behind the scenes and not even a benevolent ruler. Behind the scenes, she berated and terrorized, if you will, verbally, and bullied her son and his wife because they would not serve a ruler who had gone off the rails, who no longer was serving either her family, her employees, or even Daystar in good conscience. Because as a good ruler, you serve your realm, you serve your empire. But she had perverted it and demanded everyone serve her, and serve her leanings for the romantic, for the self-indulgent, for the one who loves her own romance so much that she doesn't shy away of destroying perhaps someone else's marriage, or even if it's true that the marriage was over already, her own family who had doubts about this perhaps peculiar way this new marriage had unfolded. And she did not even think of indulging other people's well-being. She could have just said to Jonathan, okay, it's fine, you don't have to read the glowing remark about my marriage, just because she's a romantic and she should know how important it is, aside from the conscience, of course, before God, but also for one's own well-being, not to be forced into something one does not approve of. So what could Joni have done differently? The first thing would be to choose either the romantic or the ruler. It seemed as she kept on clinging to power, they were increasingly at odds with each other. The romantic, the desire for luxury, to indulge her every whim, her romantic desires, let's say this dog, and her desire to rule, increasingly with an iron fist, the empire. See, in The Devil Wears Prada, the outside is luxury, romance, the romantic life of high fashion, but the inside, we all know who she represented, of course. She ruled with an iron fist and she chose the ruler over the romantic. But on the public, she, of The Devil Wears Prada, combined both the vogue, high fashion, together with the ruler personality. For Joni, she was incapable of combining both. She could have chosen the romantic and given over the reins of the empire to Jonathan, who has all the signs of a benevolent ruler, who is self-effacing almost and humble, all the good things that makes an amazing ruler. And she could have, from behind the scenes, still pulled some strings while indulging her desire for the romantic lifestyle she has probably put on the back burner all her life with Marcus, where she had to grit her teeth and smile, while in reality she perhaps had a broken heart, and romance, whether it was in the romantic love relationship or in satisfying her life for pleasure was not necessarily indulged in. They finally have had the life she always wanted in the romantic arena. Or if truly the ruler was latent, dormant in her, waiting to come out, as for all the years she served side by side with Marcus, and now she had her chance. She could have stepped into the ruler's shoes, and her son Jonathan certainly, by all accounts and all we have seen, supported that initially until she abused it so as to indulge her romantic side. And she could have, of course, combined both. Some choppy waters, sure. She could have stayed married to Doug Weiss and indulged her romantic, self-indulgent pleasures. And she could have stayed at the helm of Daystar if she had just given the situation a soft touch, the velvet glove, instead of the iron fist that she displayed. And you see, at the end, both of her personas were destroyed. We've seen that she is not the romantic, soft-spoken, pleasure-seeking, peace-loving person. Instead, she comes across as power-hungry and increasingly deluded. Many of us have seen her prayer that shockingly seemed more like a witch's incantation to bring doom and punishment upon those she considers her enemies.
and blow it into the enemy's camp,
causing pain,
confusion, and anguish. Blind them every time they look upon my territory, my dominion, or anything connected to it. Block the doors they have used to my home and my dominion with the blood of Jesus, to declare no entrance. I ask you to tread down my enemies as you did for King David. Please extract 7 times whatever they have stolen from my territory. Write down the names of the evil spirits who have meddled and inflict double punishment for interfering with the Lord's anointed. For the trouble that these defeated trespassers have caused me, please double my territory as you promised in Isaiah 6:7.
Instead of looking at her own fault, when I work with people on their persona, I always make them aware of their strengths as well as their shortcomings, because your shortcomings, your potential blind spots are so important for your success. So instead of acknowledging her blind spots, or instead of saying, God, lead me into the right direction, she just brought down curses on TV in front of everyone. But her persona as a godly leader of Daystar came crashing down, but also the idea of this woman who represented the romantic, the forgiving, the peace-loving, the joyful, the soft, the velvet persona. And we have seen it in the behind-the-scenes recordings where she acted harsh, bullying, and anything but kind, forgiving, and peace-loving towards her own son, while her son stayed calm under pressure as much as he could. And perhaps then Daystar would still be standing proudly, but it seems now more and more are leaving the sinking ship, including most recently Ray Comfort, who has left Daystar because the cracks are too obvious in Joni's facade. The romantic and the ruler, those two brand personas she stood on and she built her public image and her empire on, she, on her own doing, destroyed before our very eyes. What are your brand personas, whether you're a business or interested in prosperity, personalities, and bringing out your best God-given talents while being aware of your blind spots that we all have? Look in the description, I have a free resource for you where you can determine yours. So you'll never be in a situation like Joni's, God forbid, and instead of the devil wears Prada, you wear your own personas, your true strengths and talents with pride, godly pride, emphasis, and true to the biblical story of the one who increases their talents rather than buries their talents. You first have to know what your talents are, and then you can increase and capitalize on them. So it would be my pleasure to help you along the journey, even just with this free resource. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.